Alright, hello everybody. I'm feeling a little sick as you can hear. But we're here with week 4 of Learning Fives, and I'm not going to let that sickness get me down. We're going into picks and bans between Team Choinblol and Team Animal Family. Hopefully, our production manager just had a heart attack from hearing my voice there. And Step, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Sorry to hear you're sick, but we can get on with some good League of Legends and a Soraka and a Hecarim ban already.
Absolutely. There's no medicine quite like a Soraka ban.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Ivy the Leopard has a ridiculous number of games on Soraka. I believe 3 times as many games as his next most played support in solo queue, which I think is Zyra, if I remember correctly, according to my notes here. Yeah, so makes a lot of sense to ban out the Soraka. Lee Sin ban here against ZP Attack, or no, from ZP Attack against Sadsack. He has been playing Lee a lot recently. I did note that down. So yeah, it makes some sense. They've obviously been doing some scouting, so they know what people have been playing recently, not just their most played stuff.
Yep, and it looks like Misfortune being banned out here. That's a target ban against Seorain. Which is interesting because we've seen it once before here in Learning Fives, I believe, and it was awesome.
It's good to hear. I don't believe I casted that game unless I've forgotten, but yeah. Another thing on my notes, Saorine has been playing the Lethality MF recently, so despite playing some random stuff, and Varus is his most played, not too many games on that. The LeBlanc banned out as well against Havoc Scout. Has been playing some LeBlanc recently, I think.
LeBlanc is pretty strong, just a teensy bit.
True. She did just get nerfed recently in 7.3, but it was a relatively minor nerf. 35 damage loss on from her passive at level 6, and most other levels it's less than that. Well, every other level it's less than that. That's the highest amount of damage she got taken away is the level 6 spike. So 35 damage loss there, not really a big deal. Syndra banned out as well against WJ Dubs. That is some other stuff something he's been playing recently, but he's also been playing a lot of other stuff. So not a huge surprise.
Poppy coming out, literally zero surprise in my voice there because Poppy is probably the single best pick for top lane right now. Best I can tell. Maybe Camille.
Well, Maokai's a bit on a higher tier than Poppy, and even
Really?
Nautilus has been seeing a bit more play. Yeah, Maokai is definitely the number one pick for top lane right now in terms of tanks, at least. I mean, if you're looking at carry champions, then there's other things for that, but Poppy definitely not as high tier as Maokai. So interesting to see that, but I did see that EU113 has been playing some Poppy recently. Weirdly, he has been playing Maokai as well, but maybe that could be they're hovering Maokai, so maybe it could be a Poppy in some other lane. That is a possibility, even if I don't think it's super likely. Also, the Jin Janna over here for Join B, so a fine lane, but a little weird to see the Janna rather than one of the more meta supports, but not any huge surprise by any means.
So why does Jaina do well or poorly with Jin? Obviously, Jin has a lot of flat AD based damage because he auto attacks so slowly, so the AD shield's good. But other than that, do they have any synergy, or is it just sort of like Jaina is a great support?
So the thing with Janna and Jin is Jin does need a lot of peel to be able to auto attack, right? A lot of the reason behind the armor penetration build for Jin is it allows him to deal a lot of damage without getting in any danger. Whereas normally, because he has ability to deal with people that get on top of him or get close to him, it's really not a lot that you can do by yourself as Jin. And so having appealing support like a Janna makes things a lot easier for the Jin. It is really nice to have something like that, a Janna or Nami or some
Mm.
other peeling support. Janna, of course, is the premier peeling support. So having a lot of peel does make the Jin pick nice. But Orianna and Ivern picked. It is something that I had noted down for Animal Family. The Ivern has been something ZP Attack has been picking up recently. So something he has a lot of games on in the recent past, but not something he's played a lot in solo queue. So Lux and Kha'Zix getting locked in. Kha'Zix, of course, very strong jungler on this patch with
Hmm.
lethality.
Are you expect? Oh, there's got to be a hyper carry, AD carry coming out. There's no way.
Yeah. This looks definitely like a hyper carry comp here. Sairain is probably going to be locking in something. Yep, there's the
Yep,
Jinx.
there's the
Um,
Jinx.
Not a big surprise to see a big hyper carry with triple shield comp and a mega tank in the top lane. So Interesting to see they're going for a full hyper carry comp. This is putting a lot of pressure onto Sayuri, and if he doesn't perform this game, they're not going to be able to do anything. This really takes, I guess, a lot of that pressure off of the other players like WJ Dubs, ZP Attack, even to some extent, Yu to some extent. All of those players, their importance is second tier to Sayuri here because he is all of their damage. And of course, one of the big things to counterpick something like this is super hard engage so that you can start picking off the 80 carry when they don't have their full shield support squad with them, forcing them to group up 5-man at all times. The Malphite would help that a lot, although, of course, the Maokai is a bit of a better pick in the current meta, so we might expect to see that, but wouldn't be shocked to see a Malphite here. So that is what's going to be locked in, so that is interesting to see, a Malphite, even though he's not really a meta champion.
But interestingly, this draft from Team Choinblol, the one thing I have concern about is they really only have one way to get onto Jinx in a team fight. And let me explain that because it's a bit of a loaded statement, right? The Malphite ult can get through Steadfast Presence from Poppy, but Kha'Zix can't. And Jhin and Lux, if they don't get close enough, I mean, you can use Curtain Call or Deadly Flourish from Jhin, but is there anything else for them? Or do they just sort of have to wait to be engaged on?
The idea here, I mean, of course, they probably didn't know, when they went into the last two picks here from Animal Family, they didn't know it was going to be a hyper carry comp. Starting out with Poppy, Ivern, and Orianna in this current meta doesn't necessarily say, hey, it doesn't telegraph that they're going for a hyper carry comp. They could have easily locked in Zyra and, some other utility carry and just been a high CC, relatively low damage, but still a decent damage composition. But when you lock in the Jinx and the Lulu, that's when you know, okay, this is a hyper carry composition. And so they had to adapt with their last pick, and they went with the Malphite as the best thing they could get. And I do think that Animal Family got a bit of a win in picks and bans here in terms of composition strength. But I do think that Choinblol's picks individually are a little bit better. They do have the Jhin, probably the second strongest carry on this patch. Kha'Zix, one of the strongest junglers on this patch. And then, of course, in the other roles, they have champions that are fine, even if they're not super high tier. Whereas on the other side, we have, champions like Lulu and Orianna who are sort of second or third tier in their roles. And then Ivern as the only high tier champion.
All right, well, that concludes our little mini roundup of picks and bans. We'll be back to discuss it more in about 2 minutes after the spectator delay. See you then. Alrighty then. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Learning Five's Week 4 Showmatch 1, I believe, and Game 1 between Team Choinblol and Team Animal Family. My name's Nabiria, and I'm joined by my buddy Nstep, and we're going to have, hopefully, a pretty great game here.
Yeah, that's cool to see. We've also got the Blood Moon map, which I think I've only played ranked since patch 7.3, so I have
I know,
actually
I'm
never seen
so
this map.
excited.
It is so cool looking, and we even have the Blood Moon Jin to go with it, so
We had the
definitely
Blood
cool.
Moon loading screen. I wanted to transition early, but I didn't because being professional and shit.
Oh yeah, it looks
But
really good. So just to get into the game real quick, one interesting thing to note: most of the masteries, most of the Keystone masteries here are exactly what you'd expect. But the top lane matchup here between Poppy and Malphite, both players opting to take Courage of the Colossus, which is actually the opposite of what I would have expected. Both players to take Grasp of the Undying for the lane matchup, since both these champions actually can put pressure down in lane. Especially the Poppy can potentially push the Malphite out of lane early on. So it's kind of weird to see that they're both going Courage of the Colossus, especially the Malphite, who is going to get behind in lane, especially when he takes Courage of the Colossus, which he can't trigger except with his ultimate. So it's really a weak mastery, except for late game. Obviously it's the best mastery for Malphite late game, but doesn't help you in lane at all. So it's a little weird to see that, but we'll see if that ends up working out for him. And I suspect he wants it so that he can ult on top of this Jugger Jinx and hopefully not die instantly after he does that.
yeah, it was a little confusing for me as well because having played Malphite and Maokai in the top lane exclusively because I'm a bonobo and can only handle like two buttons at once. Um, Courage of the Colossus doesn't do anything to you for you until 6, and you're just gonna get shoved in by this Poppy here, and she's just gonna kill you. Maybe. I mean, she's got Courage of the Colossus, and she can proc it as early as level 1. So,
Yeah, it's just really weird to see the courage on Malphite in general. Although we're seeing
ooh,
a
hold
level one
on.
fight here.
ZP having a flash out, but Sad Sack flashing after him. He does get hit up by that root. Ooh, ZP attack getting low. WJ Doves got the shield down. So,
Yeah, ZP going for the classic Ivern buff steal. They tried to get the counter on it from, uh, sorry, from who was it here? So from Choinby, but they didn't quite get it off. They almost had him, but with the root caller landing onto Sadsack, he wasn't able to chase down the kill. And even though ZP attack didn't have any mana whatsoever, and he really was kind of a sitting duck, they just didn't have the ability to close up onto him and just missed out on the kill by a little bit. And then ZP is able to just walk back into his jungle and pick up his buffs that he had already put groves on.
yeah, so that's actually kind of like a weird loss for Team Choinby in a way because Sad Sack can't clear quite as fast as setting up the camps and then just leaving. Generally, that clears pretty quickly after you wait.
Yeah, Ivern's clear early on is, of course, very quick. And since he did get the steal onto Sadsek's buff, he will be a bit ahead in the early game. Although the fact that he got pressured out and he lost a lot of health does actually slow down Ivern's clear quite a bit. When you do lose all that health, it does mean that you can't actually enchant all of your camps with groves. We're seeing a little bit of trade in the lane here. I don't expect much to come of this. Yeah, Havoc's
Nope.
got pretty low on mana.
Yeah, Havoc is and ZP attack is here in the river. He's incredibly low, so I don't think he'll go for it. But he's getting the Grove. Maybe the level up will tempt him.
Yeah, and you can see this is exactly what I was talking about in the top lane. This Malphite is getting pushed in. Not only is getting pushed in by the Poppy, but is also just getting heavily out-traded. The Poppy just has such a pressure advantage over the Malphite in the early game before they buy items that it's really hard for the Malphite to do anything, which is why I expected the Malphite to take Grasp, saying, oh, I need this just to lane. I'm gonna need all the help I can get in my laning phase. The Poppy still has 3 charges on Corrupting Pot. Malphite has 0. This is a huge loss of pressure in top lane because this Malphite's going to have to base in TP pretty soon, or he's going to be at a huge amount of risk of dying solo to this Poppy.
Oh, Sadsack coming in here onto Dubs, but Dubs is just going to walk out. Havoc taking a weird flash there and completely now. Dubs
Yeah,
didn't blow
Havoc, no
anything.
flash, no flash, no mana. Also weird to see that both these mid laners took Barry, although we are seeing a trade in the bottom lane.
A little bit of
But
scrapping
yeah,
going down.
yeah, going back to the summoners on mid lane, it's kind of weird to see double barrier. Typically speaking, if you're looking for a defensive summoner of that kind, heal is better unless you're specifically against Zed. And of course, there's no Zed in this game. So barrier is a little bit weird to me. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't take heal over that. Seems a little suboptimal on both of their parts, especially since either one of them could have easily just taken Ghost instead, which I think is still better despite the
Yeah.
nerfs. But whatever. That's their choice if they want to go for that kind of deal. But if they want to go for the pure defensive summoner. But still, it still feels like Keel would have been better if they wanted the pure defensive summoner. Sadsack is thinking about going in here, but does get stopped
Oh,
by the Steadfast Presence.
Steadfast Presence is one of the most obnoxious abilities in the game, and I love it
Yeah, even without
unashamedly.
the Steadfast Presence block there, I don't think that anything would have come of that gank.
I highly doubt it.
Even if Sadsack was able to get in, he was 2 levels down to you and was almost out of mana. So there's just really not much he can do. As we're seeing just a lot of pressure come down from Animal Family here.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting this lane to go quite like this in the bot lane. I don't know about you. You know a lot more about matchups than I, but I would have expected Jin to just absolutely destroy Jinx early on.
But I mean, bot lane matchups aren't really my specialty, but as far as I know, Jin is supposed to beat Jinx pretty heavily in lane. Of course, the Lulu is a much better laning support than the Janna. Janna is a very defensive lane support, has a relatively weak laning phase since she doesn't trade super well. But in general, you should be looking at this as a win for a default lane win for Choinblol, but Sadsack really just can't get anything done here. Sadsack very far behind in the jungle now, by the way.
Yeah, I think
Although ZP getting behind because of that early invade, losing all his health and being unable to put as many groves down does help a little bit.
still up by 200 though. Ooh, Trump's wall getting a little too far forward there. Gets the deadly flourish down, but he's pretty low, and exhaust comes out from Ivy the Leopard. Um,
Yeah, worth
hmm.
noting that there is already a 500 gold lead. Of course, the 500 gold lead is not huge at this. I mean, huge at any point in the game, but at this point, it's almost a 5% lead. So any percentage lead that's getting close to 10% is starting to become significant. It's unfortunate when you're looking at a game with no kills, no, it's almost up to 1K gold lead now with no kills, no turrets, and they're already this
Yeah,
far ahead just from laning.
and a hyperscaling AD carry on the team that has the lead.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Choinblol to be able to play from behind against the Juggerjinx. If Animal Family is able to maintain this kind of lead, if they're able to maintain and extend this kind of lead, all they're going to have to do is just group up as 5 people, siege a turret. Jinx just rockets it down, and their only choice is going to be to Malphite ult in, but they'll be too weak to fight back.
Yeah, little bit of a concerning pattern here for the team Choinby, but not a whole lot going on actually. It's just mostly CS leads, and it looks like Siren recognizes this and is like, well, if we're just gonna farm it out, I'll get a call. But as I say that, it looks like a 4-man gank on top lane. Is this Choinby just getting desperate, or is there merit to this?
So the late lane swap is what we're seeing here, and this is probably going to be a
Ooh,
kill on
Unstoppable
it.
Force comes out. Sadsack gonna try and get him with the isolated Q, but a great keeper's verdict from you keeps him alive. And Trump's Wall's fourth shot is not gonna take him out.
Yeah, a
Jeez.
little bit of an over-aggressive flash there from Trump's wall. I mean, I like the idea that he's willing to go for the kill, but this is a Poppy that's very tanky. She's below 40% HP. She's got the bonus resists from her steadfast presence, and this is sort of what we hope to see from Choinby. Good rotation here to swap their bottom lane up the top. Even though they didn't get the kill, they are going to get first turret. Yes, they're giving up a dragon, but this is exactly what they need to do. They realized, hey, we're behind.
Ooh.
We need to do whatever we can. That was I think a very bad ultimate by Saurian, by the way. Just a complete waste of his ultimate. There's no reason to do that because it's not going to do anything. It's not going to clear out the minions. It's not going to stop them from taking the tower. They are going to recall anyway, so it just does nothing and gets him nothing out of the deal. It's probably not going to end up mattering because he's not going to need to use that ultimate in the near future, but it just doesn't really make sense to use it there.
It is pretty darn flashy though.
Oh, it
Gotta
definitely
admit.
looks nice, especially with the
That
Star
Star
Guardian
Guardian
ability.
skin.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense to do it, and I don't like it. I heavily disapprove of that play by Saurian, even if it's probably not going to cost him. It just why would you do it?
Yeah. So we're seeing so that was a decent rotation there from Team Choinby. It eliminates the lead that they had. Or that they had lost actually. Sorry. Misspeaking a little here.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though they made a really good rotation, they got first turret. They gave up a mountain drag, which is a really nice dragon to get, especially for a Juggerjinx style of comp, since that'll actually allow you to take Baron very quickly. And of course, the towers it'll let you close those down as well. But moreover, they didn't even get a lead off of it. That's what I was really, from their perspective, they really want to get a gold lead here in the early game so that they can then start running around with their Malphite and saying, hey, if you group up 5-man, we're gonna Malphite ult somebody and just take them out instantly. And if you don't shield them all, like, and then if you do shield them all, we'll just back out and all your cooldowns are blown. You use your wild growth, you
Yeah.
use your your daisy, all those sort of things.
And it doesn't take a whole lot to kill a Jinx, just
No, I
in
mean
terms of pure
normally it
HP.
wouldn't. Although of course, in this case, it's going to be pretty difficult through the Orianna shield, the Ivern trigger seed, and then the Lulu Pix shield. I don't recall what the actual name of the skill is, but
Help picks, I think.
yes, I believe you're correct. Help Pix, yes.
Right, getting fancy with their exclamation marks and whatnot. Fun fact: I thought Summon Tibbers had an exclamation mark. It's just a colon. I'm disappointed that the one child or the one champion who would actually use an exclamation mark because they're a child doesn't have it in their ability. It made me sad. Yet Azir has it for his W. Come on.
Arise, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look at some builds here. So we're seeing some interesting build developments. Magic Disc coming in for you, not a huge surprise. Doesn't even feel pressured to fully complete this Spectre's Cowl into the Spirit Visage, which makes sense since he is winning this lane pretty hard. And it is Malphite, who's relatively weak in lane. That looked like that should have been a stun, but wasn't quite
Yeah,
there,
it
I
was
guess.
looking a little.
But Beauregard, on the other hand, is going Cinder into the Glacial Shroud. So he's looking for some extra mana in CDR. That is understandable. The cooldown on the Malphite ult is quite long early on, and of course he does have a lot of mana issues. So it makes sense to go for some mana in CDR, but this is going to delay his Sunfire Cape a lot, and the Sunfire Cape, when he completes that is the big spike that he's looking for so that he can actually try and trade with his Poppy a little bit. Although, of course, since he is behind a level at this point, maybe that time may never come where he can really trade effectively with his Poppy.
Yeah, as we say that, Sad Sack sees ZP Attack might be going for it. ZP Attack getting ulted here by Havoc Scout, and Sad Sack is getting pretty low as well. Havoc Scout gets taken out by the Shockwave from Dubs. Good lord, that was both a simultaneously very slow and very fast kill. Like, nothing happened, and then there was just a Shockwave out of nowhere, and suddenly, dead mid laner.
Yeah, we're seeing some fighting in the bottom lane here as well. The Janna ultimate being blown, the Monsoon. Another ult from Sayori not doing much. Just hitting the Janna for a little bit of damage. Ivy the Leopard willing to tank that up for his AD carry. Beauregard maybe getting dove here by Daisy, though. I'm not sure if they want this.
Oh, they can get a heroic charge
force
right now. Beauregard looks like he just used his ult Unstoppable Force, and Daisy's going to be going down, but ZP Attack looks like he's getting pretty low as well. I don't know why he was trying to tank that tower, and now Beauregard is going to possibly just 1v2.
Yeah, got the double buff transfer there. It's really weird to me there that not only did it feel like he made a mistake by Unstoppable Forcing onto the Ivern from ZP Attack, because Ivern wasn't tanking turret, right? So the Unstoppable Force didn't really do anything, and then Yu sort of walks out of turret range while he still had at least one more turret shot, probably 2 more shots worth of tanking HP. Should have just kept tanking it and allowed ZP Attack to tank the Unstoppable Force and then finish off Beauregard, or at least get out. But then drop the turret aggro, and because of the red buff, ZP Attack instantly started tanking turret and just goes down to Beauregard. And now Beauregard's going to have double buffs. He's got the Chain Vest working up towards the Sunfire Cape. Is going to have a big advantage in this lane while he has double buffs at the very least.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out what the motivation was for that dive. Was it even necessary is my question, because you have this Poppy who's already very ahead. It's a Malphite, incredibly tanky just naturally. He has a Glacial Shroud and a Bammy Cinder, so he's got health, he's got armor, and Ivern just doesn't do much damage by himself. I'm still trying to figure out what the dive was meant to accomplish, because would it even get them ahead enough to make it worth it? Hold on. Sad Sack going in here, and it looks like Calderon just going straight down. ZP Attack probably going to follow. Curtain Call missing most shots, but just enough to slow him down to kill him. Sad Sack going to try and go in here on Siren. Siren flashes out and heals. So
yeah, another just risky invade by ZP Attack here, and this one ends up going very poorly for him. Unlike the first one, they're able to actually close the kill. They have a bit more people in the area. It's of course later in the game, so it's easier for them to hit him with a bunch of CC since they have access to a lot more now. So just a failed invade, and Sad Sack's able to pick up a kill, and unfortunately one of those kills going over to Ivy the Leopard, which is not exactly optimal since it is the Janna, but not the worst thing ever, since that will accelerate the redemption and most likely the locket coming out after that, something like that.
And this should be a dragon for them as well, since Kha'Zix takes it so quickly. It's funny, just before this fight, I was going to complain about how far behind Sadsec was. He was level 6 to ZP attacks level 8 at, 12, 13 minutes. And that would have been really bad if ZP attack and Calderon hadn't just gone for the blue buff steal and died.
Yeah, this is a Cloud Drake that they should be able to take. The Cloud Drake does do quite a bit of damage to the single target, so yeah, there's nothing's going to be coming of this tank
No,
battle. I don't know
the
why
noodle fights
spectators
have
up here,
begun.
but yeah, at this point, the tanks are pretty close to finishing their first item, and that's really when you start to see the tank battle turn into more of a wave clear battle. Although, of course, Beauregard's taking some bad trades here. Definitely taking some damage he doesn't need to take. But once you see the first item completion, that's where you see the tank battle transfer into more of a I clear the wave faster than you, so I win the tank battle. More so than I actually make you lose more health than me, so I win the tank battle sort of thing.
I do have an itemization question here. The Chalice first on Ivern. I know Chalice is a common item. Why is going at first the standard move?
It's pretty normal, relatively speaking, when you just want really fast CDR. It does feel like in this particular case, maybe he should have rushed the Redemption. The Redemption is quite nice when you have a composition like this. So Use is out of mana here, so I don't really expect anything to come of this. I feel like I've said that so many times about this top lane, and nothing has ever come of it.
At a certain point, you just have to start ignoring top lane fights, and it's just
yeah,
it's like rain in Seattle. It happens all the time, and you just don't notice it anymore.
Spectator doesn't really doesn't believe in that though. It'll always be willing to go up to the top lane battle. But
like, guys, 100 HP trade, guys, this is important.
Yeah. So going back to the Ivern itemization, you could argue maybe the Redemption would have been better here, but the Chalice does give him access to a way to actually heal people, which is kind of nice, and it also gives him a lot more CDR earlier in the game. So it does give 20% as opposed to the other items he can rush, which only give 10%, like the Redemption.
Right.
Or the Ardent Sensor is the other thing I've understood that people like to rush on that champion. Also gives 10%. So the Chalice gives you just a nice early CDR spike. That's the real main advantage of it, as opposed to the other items. Really, I mean, it's all mostly the same stuff for Ivern. You're going to do the same thing no matter what you build, where you're going to be going for a support style build. Your shields are going to be pretty big. You use your Daisy to sort of frontline for your team, or help frontline in this case with you. And you just try and defend your carries and hit nice root callers onto people.
Speaking of jungler itemization, as Sadsec might be going for a gank here, Sadsec rushed a Yumu's Ghostblade with literally nothing other than brown boots and Hunter's Talisman.
Oh yeah, this is the hard cheese here from the Kazakhs. This is what you see people doing when they say, "All right, I need to snowball really hard. This is my time to shine." And I guess I believe he had the Caulfield's Warhammer earlier, which is very reasonable.
Looks like he's going in here. Deadly Flourish misses just barely, but Curtain Call is going to come out. Siren might be able to take out Armstrong's wall if he were trying to focus him, but he's not. So last shot just going to wave clear, and nothing happened. Unfortunate. Except a lot of mana burned.
Yeah, just a lot going down. I mean, some ultimates burned. Nothing too exceptional. Nothing too exciting. I mean, I'm glad they made the play. That's what I would like to see from Choinblol, is that they need to try and force more plays with the bottom lane here. That's where they should be forcing. They need to get Sayrain behind, because right now he's just doing fine in CS. He's got like one of the second most CS in the game after his own mid laner. He's got a lot of farm. He has this cull that's going to be completed soon. He's scaling up just fine, and this is exactly what Choinblol doesn't want, because they need this Jinx to fall behind, or they're just never going to be able to walk up 5v5 to anything, and it's going to be very easy for Animal Family to siege turrets.
Yeah, I had a question that was important. Oh, now I remember. Both 80 damage dealers for Team Choinblol have gone for what is looking like a full lethality build, because Kha'Zix doesn't really build sustained damage. And if you're going Dustblade, you're probably not going into the standard 80 carry build.
No,
is this going to bite them in the butt, or?
I mean, so the goal of their comp, right? What they need to do with their composition is they don't actually need to kill you. They don't need to kill this Poppy at all. So it's not really going to hurt them that much that they don't have any way to bust tanks, that they're not going to be looking for any big armor penetration items until very late in the game, most likely. That we're not going to be seeing a Lord Dominic's Regards or a Mortal Reminder on either of these champions until probably fourth item, I would imagine, at the earliest. And the thing is, they just don't need to kill you. And for them to kill you is clearly impossible, right? If they really want to, Animal Family can just stack a bunch of shields on you and make them unkillable, even if there was a tank buster on the side of Choinblol. But
Right.
there's just realistically not going to happen. What they need to do at this point is they're going to need to land something. Either they need to get a Kha'Zix in, or they need to get some like a Jin W or some curtain call shots onto Saerain when he's not next to the shields, or when some of the major cooldowns from all of these shielding champions are down. And that's going to be pretty difficult. Either that or they're going to have to split push to victory, but they really don't have a champion that can split push besides this Kha'Zix. And of course, you don't want to split push on your jungler because then they won't have smite available to steal. And
Right. Ooh, WJ
WJ
Dub's getting
Dub's
incredibly
almost
low
going down.
here. But Sad Sack going to get caught by the root caller. He might be going down here. Trigger Seed is put onto Daisy. Is it going to get the kill? No, of course not.
Very close, but not quite there. As we're seeing Saerain get knocked up by the tornado, but not going to get much. Oh, is he going to go for the ultimate here? Is he going to go for the Super Macro Death Rocket? Looks like it would kill.
Oh, but the Redemption coming out. I was actually just going to mention that on the Janna. Redemption Monsoon Kanto saving her life there, and that shows the power of rushing the early Redemption over finishing the support item first.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about from the Ivern. You know, that kind of play you can turn around when you do have an early redemption. And since Ivern is the jungler and will often just be, randomly in the bottom side jungle, could have made, assuming that dive was on the other side and maybe Saerain and Calderon were in trouble, could have maybe saved them. Of course, wrong team, wrong situation. So it's not really super applicable here, but we're seeing a TP to turret. I'm not really sure if that was necessary. I feel like Beauregard should have just given up those minions. It was basically a sacrifice of one wave in return for his TP, and I think they need that TP more than he needs this wave. But he obviously feels differently about it. So working on a Frozen Heart next for this Malphite. Another reason why Malphite isn't really played right now is he does depend a lot on these CDR mana items, and those items in general just aren't very strong right now. So getting the Frozen Heart, when he does complete it, it'll still be a nice spike, but unfortunately, the item just isn't, it's just not as cheap as it once was, and it's not quite as efficient.
No, I think Randuin's is just, in most cases, a better item. Beauregard's actually getting low here. I never thought I would say this about a tank 1v1, but after 30 seconds, Beauregard got below half health, everybody.
Yeah, when you
exciting.
do tank both halves of that Poppy Q, I don't actually recall what it's called, but when you do tank both halves of that, it is, I believe, 7% maximum HP on each side. So it can actually do some decent damage to tanks. Even though he has quite a bit of armor, it will do some damage. As we're seeing Sadsack come in here, and didn't get Steadfast Presence this time.
Nope, but Keeper's Hammer coming out. Yu is getting pretty low here. Courage of the Colossus has procced already, and Yu is running away from minions. Sadsack's going to get even more damage here, but Sadsack's getting pretty low. Might go down as well. Yu with a great heroic charge, and Beauregard flashing into it. Yu is going to try and stay alive, but not quite enough.
Sunfire keep taking him off, so taking down Yu there, really not worth it. We did miss a kill onto ZP Attack. ZP Attack is dead. Didn't see how that happened, but it's interesting. It seems like the Ivern, even though he's been playing it a lot recently, I did see in his match history, it doesn't seem like he is as comfortable on this as he could be. Feels like he's just gotten caught out a lot and maybe not played this as well as he could have.
Both junglers, I would say, looking fairly uncomfortable in this match.
Yeah, Saerain playing pretty far up here, playing very aggressively, but probably going to be fine doing that since they know that Sadsack has just died on topside recently. So Sadsack is at this point still going for a super heavy lethality build, still ignoring the jungle item as we're seeing Trump's Wall getting hit for a lot of damage. These trades are just insurmountable, and this is kind of what you expect at this point. Once the Jinx has time to get these level of items, oh man.
Those autos are just,
as I was saying, once the Jinx has these items, is this going to be the
that was a flash out. Sadsack. It looked like it was going to be a bait, but Ivy the Leopard should go down here, but the Redemption heals him just in time. Saerain is going to get the attack speed from those Jinx rockets, and it looks like... Ooh, another Redemption coming out, but that time from the side of Animal Farm.
Yeah, but so like I was saying, once you get ahead enough, once you get on like a bunch of items onto this Jinx, you sort of expect the lane to turn because the Lulu is so much more powerful of a laning champion than the Janna. And yeah, even when the Kha'Zix comes in here, you can notice the Kha'Zix at this point is level 10. The supports are level 11. The Kha'Zix is very far behind from Sadsack here. And he is definitely a Sadsack in this game because he is extremely far behind. It's just, even with this super cheesy, like max lethality, no jungle item build, he's not going to be able to stand up to champion combat when you're just this far behind in items. You can see you here is level 14 already, and so is WJ Dubs. The solo laners are level 14, all of them, and he's 4 levels below them. At that point, you're just losing out on so much gold in terms of stats that you get from levels. It's just going to be impossible to combat people, no matter what your items are.
I feel like a Tiamat would have been a good purchase here instead of going for the second lethality. Well, before he went for the first lethality item, even I feel like the Tiamat to just try and increase that clear speed a little bit because he knew he was behind. He knew
I
it
don't
because
really think that the issue was his clear speed. I think he just ignored his camps. He went for a lot of just, hey, I'm gonna walk up and just jump into this lane to get pressure. In situations where that pressure wasn't really relevant, or he just lost out on a lot of farm, and we're seeing a lot
looks like
of
a
cooldowns being blown here, but not much happening.
4v2 here. Sad sack. Like you said, that level disadvantage.
Yeah, he's 2 levels down to ZP attack here, even though ZP attack is 0-3, and it feels like he's actually fairly far behind as well. So both junglers behind, but Sad Sack is so much more behind that it feels like a big disadvantage for Choinblol. You can see that the gold is still fairly close. At this point, a 1 or 1.5K lead isn't really going to amount to much. But there is, of course, the Earth Dragon as well for Animal Family. So that'll definitely help them out.
Ooh, Beauregard getting ulted here with the Unstoppable Force. And it looks like Curtain Call is going to be able to take him out. Sad Sack taking out Daisy so that Daisy can't kill him. Calderon flashes over the wall. It looks like going to try and use the Blast Plant to get back over maybe. And the Heroic Charge not quite getting the stun. I'm not sure how. One man.
Redemptions.
Ooh, geez. Someone's getting incredibly low. Havoc Scout does go down, which gives Jinx to get excited. But Sarain isn't in minigun form. Beauregard incredibly tanky here. Still in rocket form. I think she should have switched to minigun at some point during that to get the extra attack speed, but not enough damage coming out. Oh, a flash over the wall. I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah, a lot blown there, and sort of I would say unwisely. But it does end up.
Ooh, never mind. Sarain getting excited here.
Are they going to
finally switches to
yes,
minigun?
They are. Yeah, Beauregard going down. So Sarain going pretty deep for that one, but not going to be able to pick up anything else. Yeah, a lot blown, and at the end of the day, Animal Family does pick up the team fight win. I think at the end of the day, that was a 4-for-2-1? Not really sure.
It was a long fight.
The death timers are so short, and the fight was so long, I didn't really catch who all died and who all respawned. But ZP Attack is here now. I believe he died at the beginning of that fight. Yes, he did. He got picked at the beginning of the fight with the Unstoppable Force. But since the fight lasted so long, he's able to come back and get to this dragon and pick up a free win Drake. As we're seeing ZP Attack not really take.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of a function of this Ivern has some magic resist from. As we're seeing, Sarain does get rooted from the light binding.
Low.
But yeah, Havoc Scout is maybe not as big as he could be, I guess. He's got decent items at this point in the game, but you can see his counterpart, WJ Dubs, does have an extra needlessly large rod on him. So realistically, is not going to be doing as much damage as you would expect from a Lux at this point. And then at the same time, Unstoppable Force.
The Flash Unstoppable Force. WJ Dubs is going to go down here. It looks like the Light Binding landing, as does the Lucent Singularity, but a Flash Shield from ZP Attack. WJ Dubs staying alive here. Daisy comes out, and it should be enough to defend. Super Mega Death Rocket going wide. But great defense there from ZP.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice thought by Beauregard, thinking, hey, this guy is probably alone. I can just flash in, Unstoppable Force him. Maybe we get him. Very, very, very close there. But with the double shields, barrier, both the barrier and the Orianna shield coming in, and then ZP Attack flashing in to get the trigger seed. Just really hard to pick up kills. And this is exactly what I said earlier on in the game and in Champ Select is it's going to be really, really hard for Choinblol to pick up kills because they've fallen behind. And when you fall behind against a bunch of champions that like to give shields to their teammates, it's very difficult to actually kill anyone.
Mm-hmm. That said, Beauregard is incredibly, incredibly tanky.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to take him out without Sarain's help, but with Sarain's help, it won't be that long, especially now that he's picked up the Last Whisper. Daisy going down, but not quite a champion, so nothing too exciting there. Sad Sack is flanking around the side here, but he is so weak that I don't really feel like that's relevant at all.
Ooh, Yo using the Steadfast Present a little early. Siren gets caught out there, but 2 shields go down for half his health. Yo getting caught out again. Keeper's verdict. 4-man. It looks like Beauregard's probably going to go down here after using Unstoppable Force to get in. Calderon almost going down, but ults himself, and it looks like Yo's going to keep on the chase. Final Spark coming out, but it looks like Siren might be able to take everyone out here. Not quite everyone. Almost got Sad Sack, but the tank is down, and that's, I think, the important part for Animal Farm.
I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. When Animal Family gets ahead with a composition like this, it's just going to be really hard to do anything. Beauregard went in with a really nice Unstoppable Force. I believe it was 3, maybe even 4-man Unstoppable Force there. I didn't quite catch it, but it was really nice, but hard for them to follow up. And then Hay by himself there's just no way for him to ever do anything through these shields. They can expend 1 shield, and there's no way Beauregard's ever going to get through it. So, unfortunately, it's just at this point, there's really not a lot that Choinblol can look to do. They've fallen behind with double lethality champions. They're super far behind in levels. Their itemization and their champions just don't work as well from behind when you're in this kind of situation. And it's just going to be really difficult to, for them to do anything outside of a lucky Baron steal, or maybe looking to catch somebody with this Kha'Zix, or maybe catch somebody with the Jhin Deadly Flourish, something like that. If they can catch out Sayrine a couple times, or maybe catch out one of these shield champions a couple times, someone that isn't Yu, who's super tanky, maybe they can pull something off.
And just some aggressive ward wars over here. Oh, looks like the light binding going a little bit wide. Blast Plant did respawn. Could see some cheeky plays from that.
Yeah, light binding going out wide is okay there. All he really wants is the ward. Havoc Scout doesn't need to get more than the vision. Really what they want to do here from Choinblol is try and get vision control over the Baron area, because while they are fairly far behind, and again, I keep saying it's going to be pretty much impossible for them to win 5v5s, it is also true that they do have decent wave clear. They have a Jhin, they have a Kha'Zix with, I believe, who's evolved W, although I'm not 100%, but who's eventually going to evolve W, and they do have a Jhin, a Lux, so they have fine wave clear, and the easiest, most clear way for Animal Family to close out this game is going to be for them to get a pick or get a 1-for-1 or something, get some pressure somewhere, and then take the Baron. And the easiest way for Choinblol to get back in the game is to somehow steal the Baron. And when you have Lux on your team, it's really not that unreasonable to say, if you can combo your Lux combo with the Smite from your jungler, it's not that unreasonable to expect to steal the Baron. And so I don't think that Animal Family should be starting the Baron, even though it is the clearest, easiest way for them to win. It's also the main way that they could lose at this point. Also, not really sure why Havoc Scout is...
like the full combo did.
Yeah, ulting a Poppy. Even though the Poppy really has a very small amount of magic resist at this point, doesn't have a completed MR item besides Merc Dreads, which don't really count. It's still really not going to do much damage there.
Speaking of top laner boot choices, the Ionian boots coming out here from Beauregard. I don't like it personally, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think it's suboptimal, but I get the idea, which is I'm going to need to flash ult as much as possible in this game. I'm assuming his thoughts are, I need my flash cooldown as much as possible in this game, because we're not going to be able to do much without a flash ult. And I can certainly understand the reasoning for that, but at the same time, giving up on the tank boots, I think in this case he probably could have gotten away with the Ninja Tabby, which are so effective against this Jinx. And the Jinx is just going to be all the damage he's taking in these team fights. And if he had Ninja Tabby, that effectively reduces the damage he takes just from Jinx by 12% from the passive alone, plus the extra armor it gives him. It feels like that would have been the better choice, most likely. But I don't know. I agree to some extent that flash ults are going to be, Flash Malphite ult, Flash Unstoppable Force is probably going to be a big part of winning this game if Choinblol is able to pick up a comeback and win. But at the same time, do you really want to rely on that? Rely on that as your win condition? Havoc Scout taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, getting hit by the heroic charge. It looks like Keeper's Verdict came out but missed a little bit. Blast Plant,
I don't know about these
follow.
Sayrine. These super mega death rackets from Sayrine have been suboptimal, to say the least.
Yeah, just a little
just hitting right into the shield.
Exploratory ults, we'll call them.
Yeah, just for the vision. But we're actually seeing, interestingly, Sadsack is now picking up a jungle item. I'm not really sure that that's optimal at this point. I mean, that health crystal probably isn't going into a jungle item. Maybe that's going for Black Cleaver. Who knows really what the build is, but weird to see at this point that he'd go for the Skirmisher Saber. If you're going to go for this style of build on Kha'Zix, I think you really just need to commit to it. He needed to just keep stacking lethality, even though he's really far behind. I feel that he would have been better off just continuing with that rather than sidetrack his build and get lethality. I don't think the build is good, but if you're going to do it, you should commit to it.
Yeah, I mean he's been sitting on that skirmisher saber by the way for like 5-10 minutes now.
Oh, okay. And then he's just been working on ruby
I
pushes. What looks like
yes,
probably a black cleaver, but who knows?
yeah, and that
Um,
was his only purchase in the past like. Ooh, a really short unstoppable force coming down, and it looks like the final spark is gonna miss. Curtain call coming out though. Sad Sack gonna try and get onto the backside. Yo going deep, but it looks like Beauregard is taking care of the back line for Animal Family, but he's getting taken care of himself. Two-man keeper's verdict. Trump's wall getting pretty low and gonna go down here to Yo, and it looks like we're gonna go down onto Beauregard possibly, but he's gonna survive here. Daisy, can you do it? I believe in you, Daisy. Get the knock up. Not quite. Super Mega Death Rocket going deep though, and it looks like a two-man kill from Sarain right there.
Yeah, I don't know why he flashed out. He could have just gone for the quadra kill there if he'd flashed in, and I think it would have been a pretty easy pickup. But playing it safe, I mean, I guess he had a big shield on him, and the rest of his team has a million shields, so he'll probably still be able to pick up the kills anyway. But could have just ended the game right there by getting the quadra.
Yep.
Looks
Ooh,
like yeah, he's
crit.
gonna get one more. So gonna be able to probably not pick up the kill on Ivy the Leopard. Ivy should be able to back up to the fountain. But this does look like it is going to be the game for Animal Family. I don't really
Yeah.
expect that Choinblol is going to be able to pick this up. Since at this point they have Yu to tank the turrets and a ton of shields for him, and Sayrine does enormous damage to these turrets.
Yeah, and he was just taking no damage here whatsoever. The AoE crit rockets coming out are just so much damage. It's just unbelievable how much damage Jinx does when she's ahead. Oh, it looks like a 2 or 3 man shockwave. It was hidden by the scoreboard. And it's going to be 1-0 for Animal Family so far this series. So what would you characterize the biggest problem for Choinby to work on for next game?
I mean, I don't. As
Was it
far as
just the
stuff they
draft?
can work on, they could work on the draft for sure. But it felt like they just were mostly outclassed in laning phase. It felt like even though they had the better macro play, they were able to rotate around the map, get a lot of advantages, or at least get back into the game via doing nice macro plays like the lane swap up to top lane. That late swap is something we've seen a lot in competitive play recently because it is very effective at getting you the first turret blood, which is so valuable right now. And so even though they had the nice macro play, the problem was because they fell so far behind in laning phase, all the nice macro plays did was sort of get them back up to par. And then they would just start losing out again in laning phase, right? Whenever they matched up 2v2 or 1v1 against their lane
Right.
opponents, they just keep losing out. And so it was a problem. And that's not really something you can work on between games. The draft, however, they could work on between games. Of course, their champion pools are going to be limited. These are not LCS tier players. So, and, even LCS tier players have limited champion pools, but they've got to be doing something. And at the very least, maybe someone could say to Sadzak, hey, you probably shouldn't go all in on this cheese build and then not farm your jungle at all and just only go for ganks that aren't going to work. Right, stuff like that. I think some
Right.
small tips. Maybe Havoc Scout, could be someone could go tell him, hey, maybe you shouldn't play so far up in lane. It got you killed a couple times and you didn't really need to die. Stuff like that. Just some minor tips that could really help them out, and maybe they could pull this back for the second game.
Full comboing the incredibly tanky Poppy. There's
Yeah,
another
also
one.
definitely a mistake.
Yeah. So we'll see if we can if they can clean up their game a little bit in game 2 here. In the meantime, we're going to go to a break. So see you then. All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Picks and Bans, Game 2, Showmatch Week 4, Day 1,
And the Jinx
Arsenal
fan.
0. Nsep, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Jinx ban.
And the Soraka ban again. Again, these bans not a huge surprise. The Jinx was very effective last game. Despite, I don't think the Super Mega Death Rocket ever did anything useful, but despite that, I think was still a very effective pick overall. Weird to see the Ivern ban because ZP Attack seemed really not very confident on it. He kept dying on invades, dying or blowing summoners or whatever and getting fairly far behind. So weird that they banned the Ivern, but at the same time, I can see the reasoning behind it. And the idea is Ivern is really the only champion that's playable right now that goes in a hyper carry comp. So if maybe they prepared another 80 carry for the hyper carry comp, they're saying, okay, we want to make sure they can't play this comp at all. So we'll just ban out two parts of it, and there's no way they can do it.
Well, if that's the case, I don't know how comfortable I am with these bans. Maybe you can point out where I'm wrong about this, but generally, if you're trying to ban out a composition where a bunch of things can slot in, I don't feel like it was the Jinx that was very effective that game necessarily. Like, the Jinx was effective, but I don't think because it was Jinx. I think it was because it was a hyper carry. Maybe I'm off base on that.
I mean, I agree to some extent. I agree with that, but Ivern is really right now the only jungler that fits super well into a hyper carry comp. You can pick something like a Rek'Sai, but it's just not as effective. And I suspect that ZP Attack probably has a limited champion pool again. Most of these players don't really play that many champions, and so I suspect, especially if they ban out the Ivern, they say, all right, there's no way they're running that. And yeah, of course, we're seeing MF and Hecarim, both picks that aren't indicated by, well, it's not locked in yet, but it's probably going to be the Hecarim for ZP Attack, and both champions that are not fitting in hyper carry comps. And of course, the Maokai for Beauregard, I do like quite a bit. I think that champion is very strong right now, and if you're going to first pick a tank, it should be Maokai.
Yep. I personally love that champion. He's a giant, unkillable tree. You can lose lane as hard as you want. As long as you kick some butt in team fights, you're fine.
Yep, absolutely. The champion is just great right now. Of course, does offer the counter pick to you, but there's really not that many champions that can lane against Maokai as sort of a counter in any sense. Looks like they're hovering the Nautilus here, which is actually a losing matchup into the Maokai, although it's not by
Locking
much.
it.
Yeah, locking it in. Morgana here for most likely for Ivy the Leopard, although it could be a mid lane Morgana for Havoc Scout. But most likely for Ivy the Leopard is interesting to see. I'm not really sure why they would blind pick Morgana here. I feel like they could have taken some stronger support blind, unless there's a champion pool issue like a Zyra, something like that, or a Malzahar even. Any of the mage supports really would have been great here. But of course, Ivy does have a limited champion pool, but Zyra is the next most played after the Soraka. But okay, so it is a mid lane Morgana. All right, as I mentioned, it is a mid lane Morgana for Havoc Scout as a possibility. But again, kind of weird that you blind pick the Morgana, but I guess they picked it there as sort of a mind game, saying, "Oh, here's our support," and then switch it up and switch the Zyra to support, and then we tricked you. It's the Morgana mid lane. So cool to see that, but. Overall, we're looking at sort of a Death Ball Wombo combo comp here from Animal Family. Another all-in comp, which is kind of hilarious to see that they seem to only be going for all-in strat comps, which last game they went for the complete Jugger Jinx comp. This time, full-on Wombo combo.
Well, I mean, if it works, go for it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Vi coming out is a pretty common pick. Ooh, lock it.
Would be interesting to see that if they swapped the Nautilus to the support role, that is a possibility. Then they could swap in an actual tank counterpick to the Maokai without showing it earlier. Of course, doesn't really matter that much though, since they would have. There's no way that they were putting the Maokai. The Choinblol was moving the Maokai to another lane, so it doesn't really matter if you show your counterpick top lane early in this case. So I suspect the Nautilus is probably top lane, but if it is support, I'd be pleasantly surprised to see that. And then see a tank cutter pick top lane instead.
I have wanted every single pick that has been hovered to be locked in because they're all awesome.
Certainly not.
Come on.
Okay, yeah. Karma, the support pick. As I mentioned, most likely, yeah, they're gonna just slam their support, and yep, that's it.
They're breaking my heart.
Support, and that's the composition. A little bit weird to see the Karma with this composition. I would have expected a more Wombo combo inclined support, but I mean, Karma not terrible here by any means. Has a lot of synergy with the Hecarim, and it's a double shield comp. So maybe they just feel a lot more comfortable when they have a lot of shielding on the side of Animal Family.
Yeah.
So nice to have a double shield composition, I guess, as opposed to the triple shield composition they're running last game. And of course, the shields are a bit weaker here since it is a Karma support rather than a Lulu. Lulu has a stronger single target amount of shield plus HP, whereas Karma has a bit more distributed, which is a bit better against AoE, but worse against single target.
Yep, well, there's the pick and bans, the Mid Morgana coming out. A little surprising, as is, well, MF, not as much, but we'll talk a little more about that when we come back into game. See you then. All right, hello everybody, and welcome back. And how convenient that the song that would get our stream muted would start just as we loaded into game.
Oh, nice.
Apparently,
Doesn't that mute the 5 minutes before, too?
yeah, if it gets tagged in time. But it only played for like half a second, so
That's probably not enough to get picked up, so that's
we
good.
should be good. We learned that the hard way on our the first time I streamed for us, which was actually I think our first match,
Yes, it was.
because the VOD got muted and we were very sad.
Yes, that was unfortunate, but looks like we are getting back into game here after the pause. Yeah, good to see. Didn't see any surprising keystones in this game, so mostly what you'd expect. Some cool skins here. I haven't seen this Warring Kingdoms Vi yet, so be
Ooh,
looking
I
forward
really
to
want to
that.
see it.
Yeah,
I
I've heard it's
saw it
really
and I
nice,
was
but I've
like,
actually never seen it in game.
yeah, I saw it on PBE and I was like, if I weren't cheap, I'd buy that. But unfortunately, I am, so that didn't happen.
Another
But
Blood Moon Jin. I've been a big fan of this Blood Moon Jin skin, so that's kind of cool to see again.
yeah, I liked it last game. Some nice particles. But anyways, in case you guys couldn't intuit from this being in the same video as the last game, this is week 4 of Learning Fives, show match number 1, day number 1, game 2 between Animal Family and Team Choinblol. We're actually going to do player intros this time, and I'll do them real quick because the game's about to start. Beauregard in the top lane, Havoc Scout in the mid lane, I'm Choinblol on AD carry, Ivy the Leopard in the support position, and Sad Sack in the jungle for Choinblol. And for Animal Family, we have U118, ZP Attack 12 in the jungle. U was top lane. WJ Dubs, who I'm going to call Dubs forever because I can't say that really quick, in the mid lane. Siren or however you want to say it, an AD carry position, and Calderin on support. So there we go. Team intro done before the jungle spawning, and we see the junglers starting both bot side again.
Yep, and it is worth noting, I mean, of course, since we can tell that both bottom lanes are leashing and both bottom lanes know the other is leashing, it is, of course, known that both teams are likely starting bot side, but there was a ward on top side from you, sorry here, but there was a ward on top side from you onto the blue buff, so they know 100% that Sad Sack did start bottom side, so they should be expecting the level 3 top gank, or at least be prepared for it, maybe not expecting it, but expect it as a possibility, as we're seeing a little bit of trading in mid here, but the shield start from Orianna makes it pretty hard to get any relevant damage down.
Yeah. Used to be a lot more common. I don't know if it still is a common first item, because it used to be you'd put the shield on yourself and then just auto the enemy laner and win level 1 that way.
After the AD nerf to Orianna, I believe she lost about 3 AD or something like that. It's a little bit less common since it's harder to win trades without any damage skills, but still something you see in a lot of matchups, as we're seeing a little bit of trade going on top lane, but again, tank versus tank, nothing too exciting happening there. As we did see a double up going on to Ivy, but since it didn't kill the minion, which is where you get the real double up damage, and also, of course, this is a rank 1 double up at this point in the game, not a ton of damage.
Seeing the longsword start coming out from this Misfortune again. Something we see on both Varus.
It is going to be a lethality build for sure. I mean, of course, if you're playing Misfortune right now, it is the penetration build or the lethality build, whatever you want to call it. That is definitely what you're going to be going for every time on this champion. Since she does scale quite well with lethality, and of course, the nice thing about MF lethality, as opposed to a lot of other champions, is that you do have a lot of synergy with that Black Cleaver. So that makes the build quite strong, even at shredding tanks at some points of the game. Obviously, you're not going to be as strong at shredding tanks as a crit AD carry with a Last Whisper, but it's a lot better than a lethality Varus or a lethality Jhin is at killing a Malphite or a Nautilus or something like that.
There's the real double up damage. It's so funny to me, the state of Misfortune, because Riot has tried in the past so very hard to make her a crit AD carry. They've added crit to her ultimate, they've made her autos give that little love tap damage, but every single time she becomes lethality again.
Yeah, I mean, it just has to do with the nature of double up as a huge burst, and her E make it rain as well. It certainly helps lend people towards that style of build as well. Since even though it doesn't scale with lethality itself, it's just a flat magic damage skill. You don't really get any benefit out of the ability if you're going crit or anything like that. So because it's just a flat damage skill that has a hefty slow attached to it, it enables you to disengage from short trades really easily. Again, these trades in the top lane, just really not what we want to be looking at. Although you do see that Beauregard was losing a lot of those trades last game. He's winning a lot of those now. and that's partially due to the matchup, I'm sure, and it seems like he's a little bit more confident. Although that said, he is down a lot of farm here. Seems to have missed a lot. Maybe
Yeah.
not really sure what happened there, but missing a lot of farm, even though he is winning the trades.
Yeah, winning trades, losing the farm. Looks like he's going to get engaged on again. Exciting stuff, I tell you. Caloran getting pretty low here.
Oh,
Ooh,
ZP
ZP attack
for a
coming
gank?
in. Oh, but there's the counter gank from Sadsack. He misses the Vault Breaker. Calderon getting pretty low. He's going to get the W almost procced on him. The exhaust coming out, and he's going to get away safely. But unfortunately, Calderon blew both summoners there, and Sayran had to blow heal to save him. So could have been worse.
A mechanical misplay by Sadsack there. Had he hit all of that stuff there, had he gotten the right sequence of skills there, could have gotten the kill for First Blood for sure. So a bit unfortunate there, and also notably because of just a little bit less efficient jungle pathing, was behind ZP attack on the play, was a level down on that play. Another thing that could have helped there was if he'd been level 4, and could have easily been level 4, if he just had a bit more efficient of a jungle path. So another thing, at least we are seeing a bit more farming from Sadsack this game, not just instantly going for ganks and then never stopping. Although, of course, as I say this, looks like he's going to go clear. Oh, I thought he was going to go mid lane to gank. Instead, just going for wards, which is absolutely fine. Just getting vision, but I do think he needs to be focusing a bit more on his efficiency in jungle pathing and picking up farm. Because last game he just fell behind an unacceptable amount in the jungle. It's so far behind that his team really couldn't do much because their jungler was so low level.
Yeah, the extent of most of his ganks last game where he leaps in and he's like, I'm here! Alright, cool. Now you know where I am, I'm going to go back to the jungle and go somewhere else.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the times he jumped into large minion waves, and then what would happen is he'd lose a bunch of health, and then he'd have to base before getting a camp, or he could maybe do one camp and then base because of how low his health got from the ganks. So not only did he show himself on the map, and then there's just no pressure from him, he also got low on a lot of those ganks. And the TP from you here, blowing both top laners, blowing their TP early. You can see that Yu actually has a Spectre's Cowl already because of the farm lead. Is able to pick up a pretty substantial extra itemization option here. So that's a pretty big spike, the Spectre's Cowl in this kind of matchup. And so even though this should be a Maokai favored lane, because of the itemization lead for Yu, he might be able to start winning it here. Although, of course, Beerguard does have the Grasp of the Undying this game, as opposed to the Courage of the Colossus, which does actually help a little bit in terms of trading, despite the fact that Beerguard is down 20 CS at this point, and a lot of itemization might still be able to pull up some trade wins regardless.
Yeah, would you expect to see, instead of this Doran's shield start, a Doran's ring for mana sustain for you? I mean, also for Beauregard it's an option, but I was kind of...
the typical build for these two champions in particular is the double Doran's ring with the corrupting pot. It just gives you a lot of laning power. Sometimes you skip one of the Doran's rings into matchups like this where how much you can pressure your lane doesn't really matter that much. You just want to go straight into the tank itemization. But for whatever reason, these players have decided that they're going to forego their early pressure advantages by going Doran's rings, and they're just going to rush right into tank itemization. Although, of course, on the other side, Beerguard did go boots. I'm not sure what the item breakpoint was. We've seen Saddak go in on ZP attack, but ZP attack is level 6 here.
Ooh. Oh, that was unfortunate. ZP attack missing his onslaught of shadows, and then Dubs whiffing the shockwave immediately after. Sadsack
ZP attack did hit the onslaught of shadows. It just was very
it was
short range
point
onslaught
blank
of shadows with no point blank damage. Onslaught got the fear, but or the terrify, I believe is what it is. But really with the missed shockwave, really nothing to follow it up with. So despite Sadsack's level disadvantage there, didn't end up amounting to anything. And another thing that I do like from Sadsack here, going for the jungle item this game, especially on these champions like Vi and Kha'Zix that depend a lot on getting early spikes. Having the warrior as just a super fast, early, reliable spike is really nice, as we're seeing a huge bullet time.
Oh, wow. The flash forward DFT might be enough to get Leopard. It is, but it looks like Curtain Call is going to come out, probably going to kill Sayran. Calderon sacrificing himself, but not quite enough.
That was a nice final shot from the Curtain Call there with the BF sword. A lot of damage from the Curtain Call when you have a lot of AD early on. Something you normally don't see this early on, since 9 minutes in the game, oftentimes AD carries still won't have based, or if they have based, oftentimes they'll only have like a couple long swords or something like that. So because of the extra AD there, was able to pick up a huge crit onto Sayran. Sayran not healing, by the way, not really convinced that was correct. I think he should have just healed and moved immediately behind Calderon. to save himself there. Probably could have
Yep.
lived if he played that a little bit better, but still a nice 1-for-1. Of course, they pick up the first blood, and Serain is able to pick up a nice lead here since he is also ahead in CS and able to get the cull again to try and pull out some farm advantages. One thing I do like to note here is that Choinblol is only down 1k at this point, which is a lot less than they would have been down from just laning at disadvantages last game, or that they were down.
Ooh, this blue buff is the hero here. ZP attack getting pretty low. Shockwave might be able to save him, but not quite. Beauregard is going to go in here onto WJ Dubs. Going to possibly pop the ult and kill him, but no, Beauregard's getting a little too low for that. And it looks like Sadsack comes in with the Vault Breaker, and WJ Dubs is going to go down here. You might be next to follow. He's going to have to flash out of the pit if he gets there in time. Going to anger the Rift Herald here, trying to pull a Renegades for the enemy
not
team.
sure if Satsak had his Vault Breaker up there, but if he did, could have easily gone for that chase, since there's no way Yu's going to turn anything on him at that HP, especially since Satsak's full HP. You know, no matter what HP Yu is at, there's no way he's killing a full HP of Vi. But also worth noting, Yu has picked up what I like to call, or sorry, not Yu. Satsak has picked up what I like to call the worst item in the game, Poacher's Knife. This item is very risky. Very, 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 very dangerous to purchase this item. If it doesn't work out, you are down a lot of gold. But if it works out, if you can get it to work, then it is really, really efficient. But there's a reason why no one purchases it. It is, wow, that is a huge double up going on too. I'm Trump's wall there. So that's unfortunate. But yeah, this is a very risky playstyle. Again, this is him just taking an unnecessary, what is in my opinion, an unnecessary risk, just like he did last game with his build and with his gank pathing. It's just really dangerous to go for this kind of itemization.
Looks like the combo coming out from Ivy the Leopard. Gonna have to get healed here, but I'm Trump's wall heal not quite enough to keep him staying alive against Serain. And it looks like Havoc Scout is getting chased down here in the mid lane. Nothing's gonna come of it. So the Poacher's Dirk,
a lot happening there, but really all that you know, at the end of the day, all that really ended up happening was Ivy the Leopard going down. So nothing really happening in the mid lane, and we're seeing a ZP attack. I don't think he's going to go for a dive from behind mid lane onto a Morgana who could just shield herself, but looking for camps on the top side and not finding them. And that's a huge departure from what happened last game, which is where ZP attack would go into the, invade the enemy jungle, and every single time he did, he'd say, hey, there's 2 camps up. It's almost like this guy isn't jungling, because Sadzak wasn't really jungling almost at all.
Yeah.
This time, Sadzak focusing a little bit more on farm, which is definitely what he needs to be doing. So that's nice. He is not nearly as far behind this game as he was last game. Although, of course, he is still quite a bit behind. He's down a level at this point, and 15 CS, although, of course, the CS numbers in the jungle are a bit deceptive.
Just a little bit. Now, the question I have about the Poacher's Dirk, I believe it's called, can you purchase the upgrade back into Serrated Dirk? Because I know that you buy the longsword, and then it's 750 total gold to get the Poacher's Dirk, whereas Serrated Dirk is 1100. But I don't know if you can spend the additional 450 to get the Serrated.
Nope, you cannot. If you could, people would buy it all the time, because it would be a low risk item, it'd be a 0 risk item, because if it didn't work out, you just purchase the Serrated Dirk. The thing is, if you can't get the stacks off, as we're seeing play onto CP attack, but I don't really think they're going to be able to get this. Yeah,
no.
He doesn't quite have the damage to get that. Not onto a Phage Hecarim. If that was a Sheen Hecarim, maybe, because he wouldn't quite have the extra HP, maybe they could have followed that up. Maybe Sadzak could have. Maybe if he'd gotten off a little bit more damage, a little bit more damage on his combo there, but without the extra itemization. It is nice that they were picking up an early Infernal. Again, like we said last game, the macro play here from Choinblol seems good, but ZP attack coming in.
Onslaught of Shadows coming in, and it looks like Havoc Scout's going to go down as well. Sadsack is possibly going to go down here as Beauregard TP's in. A one-man Shockwave. ZP attack getting incredibly low. Beauregard not going to be able to chase him out, and Beauregard looks like he's going to go down, but Serain might go down with him. Bullet time coming out on I'm Trump's wall, and it's a 4 for none. It's an ace.
5 for a full ace for no one. So just as I was complimenting the macro play from Choinblol, they kind of throw a lot away, right? They didn't quite have the vision to do that dragon. I think starting the dragon was okay, but they needed to pull it out and be ready to bail it off of it immediately if ZP attack showed, because ZP attack onslaught of shadowing into the pit is really just going to cause them a lot of problems in that situation where they have a very, very low support, and a very squishy support in the first place. Just a lot of squishies in general to get hit with that onslaught of shadows, as CU is gonna just walk away from this turret. But yeah, just a really bad situation to get in, and that is going to be the first turret going down first turret going down for Animal Family. So getting that extra bonus gold, and they are now sitting at a very comfortable 5K lead, which is quite substantial at this point in the game. That is a huge lead. That is 25% lead here almost.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you ace the enemy team at 12 minutes.
yeah, this is definitely going to be bad. And again, this is another situation where SadStack's not going to really be in a position to invade anytime in the near future. And because of that, this Poacher's Dirk, or whatever it is, Poacher's Knife, Dirk, I don't even know what it's called, is just not going to be efficient. It's just going to be a very, very bad item that is just a huge waste of money. And yeah, I mean, even if he does get a single invade, that's not going to do it. He needs 2 invades, and they need to be, I believe, 30 seconds apart or 60 seconds, something ridiculous like that. I don't even know what the
Yeah, it's
cooldown is, but
some nutty.
it's something insane. The item is just really bad. Very dangerous item to pick up. But as I was complimenting him for going into the warrior build path, which if he hadn't bought that Dirk, he'd be on pace to have a warrior, easily right now. Oh. So he could have had an extra spike there, and maybe with that extra spike he could have ulted in here. But
ooh, Caliburn getting caught up, but it looks like Yo is going to try and win the team fight single-handedly. Siren flash again and getting a 4-man bullet time. The Shockwave going to take one out. Oh, whoa. Good lord.
That was a big wombo combo. Like I said, they commit all into these comps, and if they can get into situations where those comps want to be, of course they're going to win, right? The wombo combo comp is always going to win if your team groups up and is willing to put themselves in a choke point where the bullet time is just going to shred the hell out of you, right? That's just going to destroy you every single time. And so they really, Choinblol needs to be paying attention to what the enemy comp wants to do. They're playing exactly into what Animal Family wants to do in these situations, and that's going to just get them all killed.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it happen twice now where it's just, oh, everything's going okay. Everything's fine. Suddenly, Shockwave bullet time. Everyone's dead on the side of Choinblol.
And it's been the same mistake twice in a row. They just put themselves into a choke and with nowhere to get out, right? The first time it was the Dragon Pit, then they got 2 or 3-man Onslaught of Shadows into a big bullet time, huge damage from Sairain, and then second time again, right? They've stick themselves in that bottom side Tri-Brush in that little passageway to try and escape. Oh, hey, guess what? There's you, TP's in behind you, he flashes over the wall, he hits you guys up, he puts a bunch of slows and CCs on you guys, and then suddenly the bullet time comes in, the Shockwave comes in, you're all dead.
Yeah, and Siren doesn't... I was kind of leery of the Cull pickup at first, and I still kind of am, but it just doesn't matter. It straight up doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how little you farm on Misfortune compared to, like, a hyper carry, because if you're 7-1 at 17 minutes, you can spend a whole lot of gold without it really affecting you poorly. Oh my god.
Wow. That's on to the Maokai, who has a little bit of armor, not a ton. Worth noting, Beerguard again is going for this mana build. Just skipping out on completion of his first item and then going for mana. As SadStack does hit the Q here.
Oh, Beauregard making a bit of a mistake though. Bullet time going to come out as SadStack goes down to just the autos from Sairain. Oh
yeah,
boy.
Definitely a lot of overcommitting there. I mean, again, this is another situation where you could say, hey, if SadStack had a completed warrior, maybe he could have ulted Sairain and one-shotted him there, right? That's a big thing that Vi can do when she does have a lot of AD itemization early in the game. She can potentially ult into AD carries, especially ones like Sairain. You can see Sairain is not even a full HP. It's maybe 80%.
Yeah.
There's a good chance that if SadStack had completed warrior, he could have ulted in, hit the Vi ultimate there, the Vault Breaker, and then just 100 to 0 Sairain or 80 to 0 or whatever the case may be. But again, because he went for this Butcher's Dirk, or whatever the item is called, he can't do that, right? And he goes into you anyway, and then there's just no way. There's nice Stranglethorns, but it's just not going to amount to much. And it's worth noting, the bullet time is down, so there's a lot less threat here onto Choinblol, so they can make plays like that. But normally a play like that would have been suicide. The bullet time would have come out, and they would have all died.
CP Attack making some interesting pathing decisions, we'll say, and going to go down as a result of it.
Yeah, Havoc Scout has actually played this game quite well. I do have a lot of compliments for the way Havoc Scout has played so far. His laning, maybe, not the greatest, but he's just made a lot of nice map plays, and we're seeing another missed Shockwave.
Ooh, Depth Charge going down onto Trump's wall, and it looks like Havoc Scout going to get caught out by the concussive blow. No, that's not what it's called. That's not what Nautilus's passive is, but Yo getting a little bit low here, but everyone's going to have to flash away from him because he is a spooky Anchorman.
All right, where's the Deadly Flourish? That's what we got to watch. That's the big thing that's going to happen here. Oh, the binding going wide, but looks like we're going to be disengaging.
Oh, there it is. It landed.
Oh, it did hit, but Unfortunately, it was onto Orianna, who did have both barrier and, if didn't have the barrier, did have the Orianna shield, of course.
Yep.
So the Deathfire Touch not quite enough to pick up that kill. So Beerguard able to take up mid-inner in that trade overall. So nice plays there from Choinby to be able to sort of maybe hold isn't the right word, but able to sort of trade somewhat evenly across the map. And it looks like they are going for this dragon as well. If they can pick this up, that'd be very good for them, since this does give them the opportunity to maybe sneak a Baron at some point with this Earth Drake. ZP attack is up 2 levels, though, and his smite will do a lot more damage.
He definitely sees it. Ooh.
Nice play by Beerguard there, preventing any chance of the smite by just hitting that Twisted Advance onto ZP attack. Well, hitting is all relative, of course. You can't really miss
sad sack. Not enough mana for the Vault Breaker. Has to flash out.
Yeah, had to flash out there, but definitely a worth. Definitely, Sad Sack is definitely saying worth after that one. Picking up that dragon is a really big deal. Even though at this point they're down about 7k gold, the main way that they could hope to get back into the game is if this drags out and they're able to take advantage of their dragon lead.
Havoc Scout is looking caught Havoc here, Scout, and looks like the. Ooh, a 2-man Shockwave, or 1-man. It's going to barely miss on a Beauregard. Beauregard getting incredibly low here, and the tether from Calderon keeping him in place, even if he had been able to get away from the other members of the team.
Yeah, unfortunate there for Choinby. I mean, they just sort of hang out in their jungle a little bit too long. They say, oh man, we got this dragon, this is great. But they just sort of hang around too long. They should have been conceding that entire area of the jungle, that entire quadrant. They have to say, okay, our jungler has no mana, is chunked out. We need to back off, right? We're not going to have any pressure on this side of the map for now. We got the dragon. That's a good win for us. Like, just give up a turret maybe if we have to. But at the time, the waves weren't in position for Animal Family to actually take a turret. So they could have easily just backed off and lost nothing off of it for quite some time until they had some time to maybe get back and defend the turret. Unfortunately, since they did overstay a bit, that didn't happen. And they lost some members, and then they lost bottom turret anyway. So red buff picked up by Serain here. Nice steal away. Nice control over the jungle here. But, yeah, I mean, just some unfortunate overstaying by Choinby here.
Now, it may be weird to nitpick the items of someone who's so far ahead, but do you think Serain should have gone Black Cleaver first, or am I crazy?
When you're this far ahead, I think just continuing to stack lethality is totally fine. I mean, yeah, you could say, what if you need to kill the Maokai? But who cares about the Maokai, honestly? This guy is going to obliterate anyone he touches. Doesn't really matter that much. I mean, if we're going to nitpick his item choices, let's just be real here. He should not have gone Duskblade first. That's just not good. It's not as good as going Duskblade first item. There's a reason why everyone in every competitive game that's building lethality goes Duskblade first item. With rare exception, maybe for the Edge of Night. Duskblade is just the worst lethality item by far. It's not close. There's just no reason to rush it. Both AD carries rushed it this game. I know it feels better. People think, oh man, this extra true damage on hit. It's so good early on in the game, but it's really just not worth it over the Ghostblade or the Edge of Night. Both those items are much more powerful early in the game. And really the Duskblade of Drakthar only gets good when you have other lethality items to help scale the passive on it. As we're seeing, maybe going for a pick on Beerguard here. I don't know if they're actually going to be able to pick this up, though. This feels like it's very unlikely.
Going to land, and looks like Depth Charge went out. I'm not sure if that amount of dedication was necessary or smart, and it looks like Dark Binding going to go out, but Havoc Scout going to have to run away.
Just a lot of confusing plays there. Like, first of all, why are you trying to pick this tank with your tank and your support? There's just no way you're ever going to kill him. And then from Havoc Scout, why do you walk up and try and turn that, right? You don't have the damage to kill the tank either.
Yeah. Ooh. Calderon getting
going
picked off.
Straight down to Ivy Leopard. Ivy Leopard doing some serious damage here on the Zyra, of course, as we expect from the Zyra.
I don't know. It's just the thing about that play is beforehand you could have just asked, okay, why are you doing this at all? Like, I don't feel like taking the Maokai off the map. Okay, maybe if you had all 5, right? Then you can take the Maokai off the map. But what is the Maokai really doing other than, like, wave control at this point?
Well, I mean, taking the Maokai, it has a lot of value. It's a lot easier for you to take Baron when Maokai is dead, since then they have no one to... Well, you could take Baron or bait Baron, because then they have no one to face check for them. It becomes very dangerous for them to walk towards the Baron pit, especially since you can see that Animal Family has very good vision control. I mean, look at this. They've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 regular wards in the enemy topside jungle, plus a control ward in their own trial, though, of course, they should have some more control wards on the map. But just insane vision coverage over that topside jungle. So if there's no Maokai alive, it's very easy for them to take the Baron. But it's not about, like, why would you make this play? It's about why would you make this play with only your support and your tank, right? You need more people there to make that happen. It's just there's no way you're ever going to have the damage to kill this full tank Maokai with those two champions.
At this point, what does Animal Family need to do to close out the game? Because we've sort of hit a point where we're kind of stalled out. Like they got vision in the enemies, you know, blue side jungle, cool, and they're not really doing anything with it yet. Did they just
they're slowly
push
extending
side
their
lanes?
gold lead. I mean, we're looking at a 9K lead now as opposed to the 7K it was a few, what was it, 4 minutes ago, something like that.
Right.
So that's nice and all. Extending your gold lead. Of course, they're going to want to keep sieging turrets. I think the next goal for Animal Family should be to take out this top inner turret. Right, that's the easiest free gold for them on the map. It looks like they're trying to set up a Baron, which is of course something that's totally fine for them to do.
They're just starting
it. See Havoc Scout bottom lane, who should not be showing bottom lane right now when they have no vision of this area. But it looks like they're gonna be able to take out the Baron for free, which is much better than getting top inner. But
I
it
don't
is,
know
of course,
about for
much
free.
riskier.
This is a pretty slow Baron take, because Cyrene doesn't have much attack speed. Oh, Curtain Call's
Yeah,
going
it
to
is
come out, and it
very
looks
slow.
like Beauregard coming in. Sadsack going to Vault Breaker into the middle of them. Bullet time coming out from Cyrene, but Beauregard's in the back line. Cyrene getting kind of low, but Beauregard going down first. WJ Dubs getting a great shockwave on the Sadsack. Sadsack going down, and Havoc going to try and take out Calderon on the backside. Imstrom's having to run away from ZP Attack. ZP Attack might take him down. He's going to, and Havoc Scout is going to have to run away. Imstrom's actually somehow still alive. Never mind, I shouldn't have said anything. Damn.
Yeah, so they just sort of funnel into the Baron pit without Havoc Scout being there immediately, right? Because Havoc Scout showed himself bottom lane, and he is going to go down. So that's a full ace just in return for Cyrene. I mean, it's a nice shutdown, but this is likely going to be an inhibitor at least, possibly the game, although I don't think so, as Ivy the Leopard spawning now, and Beauregard and Sadsack will be up in time to defend the Nexus turret. So just be a mid-inhib at this point, plus the Baron going over to Animal Family, but that's just a that's a classic mistake, right? Your mid laner wants this farm. Hey, there's this really nice wave bottom. Oh, the enemy team is all around Baron and they have full vision control. They see me bottom lane, they're just going to instantly start it, right? And this is a Morgana with no TP, right? A lot of times you see something like a Morgana, you will see them running a teleport, and in that case it would have been totally fine, but they should have sent the Maokai to clear that bottom wave because he has the TP. He can TP the Baron if there is something that's going to go on. You need to have the Morgana there right when it starts. If the Morgana had been there a little earlier, maybe with the Flash, Soul Shackle, Zonia's, maybe could have pulled something off. Maybe. But without the Morgana being there at the very beginning, there's just no way.
Something interesting about that very last fight, though, end step. ZP Attack, I believe, got the kill with his Spirit of Dread. His W, which does like 30 damage a second.
Well, I haven't checked what he's maxing second. Maybe some people do like to max it second, although it is generally preferred
it is level
to
2
max
currently.
The charge. Oh, it's level 2. Okay, well that is very nice. So he got the kill there. Nice.
That takes talent, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to last there with that.
That is true skill right there. And worth noting here, you can see if you look at Sadsack's build, guess what he sold? The Poacher's Dirk. As I mentioned, if you have to sell that item, it is absolutely terrible, and you're gonna have to sell it a lot. Even if you complete the item, if it takes too long to stack it, it's just not worth it. And really, Sadsack should not be going for inefficient tank items like this. Like, oh well, it's not time to talk about this, but because they're gonna get shredded here.
Sadsack gonna get taken out with a bullet time. Looks like you is just gonna tower dive 1v3. No big deal. Now it's starting to be a big deal. A good Stranglethorn's gonna go down, get 2 of them. You getting kind of low, but Redemption is busted. Keeping him alive.
I mean,
oh my god.
Almost going down. Weird flash there to the side. Not sure why he wouldn't just flash back. Not even sure why he flashed in the first place. But regardless, unfortunately, they're just going to have to back off after losing Sadsack. So yeah, just going back to Sadsack itemization, he should have been going full, efficient tank itemization as tons of people going down. Tons of damage from WJ Dubs. He's so far ahead that he can do insane damage with these shockwaves and just with his command attack as well. So
with
the flash into the base to get to the Nexus turrets faster with their Baron buff.
The efficiency play, everyone.
Goes down.
Beauregard going to get caught out here by Yo, and it looks like Sadsack's going to try and go into the backline onto WJ Dubs, but it looks like Sadsack's going to be the one to go down here, actually, and Ivy the Legend is going to have to try and run away.
That was pretty close. I mean, I respect the attempt. It's definitely, it's the correct play. It's just so unlikely to work out for you. And it's just really hard to get that to work at this point when you're this far behind. So unfortunate for him. And yeah, it looks like we're going to be seeing Animal Family pick up a 2-0 here against Choinblol.
Oh, geez. Calderon even getting a kill in this end here. So that was a little bit of an unfortunate game there from Choinblol, but showing some improvement from the game before.
Oh, for sure. They didn't fall nearly as far behind just off of landing phase. I mean, yes, they did fall fairly far behind, but it felt like they fell behind because they played too much into what Animal Family wanted to do with their composition anyway, as opposed to the first game where it felt like they were making nice macro plays, especially with the lane swap to the top lane, but they fell really far behind in each and every lane. And then, of course, Sad Sack fell really far behind in the jungle because he just spent so much time ganking rather than farming. Whereas in second game, he definitely did better, even though I think his build was pretty suspect. And then, in general, there were a few builds across the board on both sides that were a little suspect. But either way, did feel like they played a lot better the second game, and they lost just sort of a compositional thing. Maybe not used to playing against full wombo combo.
Yeah, because they got caught by it so much, and I think that's one of the big things that I've noticed in this series, because we're getting close to the end of the show matches, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But one of the things I've noticed as a common pattern for these teams is, one, tracking the enemy laners is not great. We didn't see a lot of that come in play this game, but what we did see come into play is not recognizing when you're in a bad geometrical position against the enemy team comp. Like, you don't want to be clumped up. You don't want to be in a choke, because, chokes just automatically clump you up. So you want to make sure that you're constantly cognizant of the fact that the enemy team has a lot of short-range wombo. Like you said, they're not used to playing against it, and they need to say, okay, there's a bullet time on the enemy team. There's a shockwave on the enemy team. There's an onslaught of shadows on the enemy team. If we are all in one place, we die instantly. And I think if they had maybe said that to themselves more often, this game wouldn't have been as much of a success for Animal Farm. I'm not going to say that they just straight up would have won it, because there was more to it than just the 2 back-to-back aces, but the back-to-back aces were a big part of it.
Yep, not much more to add here. There's just a lot. Of course, there's always a lot for everybody to work on. Even challenger players have lots to work on. Even challenger teams have lots to work on. And yeah, I hope that they see. It felt like they improved a lot over game 1 to game 2, and if they could make that amount of improvement every game, they'd be spectacular in just a few games.
Yeah, hope to see them in the tournament. But that's gonna end the series for us tonight. Animal Family, taking it 2-0 over Team Choinblol. That's gonna conclude day 1 of week 4. Tomorrow we've got 2 more series actually, and then on Sunday I believe we also have 2. So if you want to see those, either come back at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. respectively for afternoon and night matches, or the easier way is just to follow the channel on Twitch, or follow the Twitter, or join the Discord, all of the links for which are in the description below. I'm Nibiria. I've been joined by Nstep, and we hope you have a great rest of the evening.
Catch you next time.
星の守り手は空からの呼ぶ声に 시간